Hello and welcome back to Podium Pop. My name is Celine, here with my co-host Gracie. We are a Formula One IndyCar motorsport podcast where we talk all things motorsport. We are currently in summer break, so while we don't have a traditional episode for you, we definitely wanted to make sure we're posting on here. We have some really good thoughts for this episode, specifically kind of talking about the whole fangirl experience as a motorsport fan. But before we get started, make sure you are following us on social media. We post on TikTok, we post on Instagram, we post our episodes on Spotify and YouTube every week, as well as have some bonus episodes that come out sporadically. Yep. So make sure you're following us to keep up to date with everything. We are going to a race this weekend. We're going to the IndyCar Gateway race in St. Louis. So we will be posting a bunch of content this weekend. So make sure you're following us on TikTok now. So you can see all of that content. Yeah. Let's go ahead and pop the bottle and get right into it.
Let's get right into it.
What are we talking about today?
Well, we are going to talk about, fangirls, fandom, and how we're going to start into that is the One Direction to Formula One pipeline. Because we are a part of that.
We're victims of it.
We're victims of it.
We're survivors of it.
And may we say, we're kind of OG One Direction fans.
Yeah, we are experts on this matter.
We both kind of joined the One Direction hype, not together, separately. We didn't know each other in college. But we joined the
Whoa, okay.
We joined the 1D hype before it was, super, super big. I remember I found One Direction before their music was even on, iTunes in the United States.
I think you beat me. Because I found them, it was when their album first became available on everything. So it was our freshman year of high school. Yeah. Which does kind of age us a bit. So that was what, 2010? 2011?
I think it was closer to 2011, yeah.
2011 is when we discovered One Direction. Again, very separate. We didn't even know each other until 4 years later.
Oh, it was 2010. You were right.
2010.
Sorry. Yeah.
2010 is when they were formed.
Yeah.
They were formed in July.
Mm-hmm. Because I think it was March 2011 is when the fact that I know this, came out in the United States.
See, I became a fan in 2011. I became a fan the second half of the year.
Okay.
So, actually, no. I actually remember I discovered them on winter break.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, and that's when I, watched all of, the video diaries and everything. So, something interesting to think about now is that, kind of jumping forward a little bit, but still kind of focusing on One Direction, is that a lot of fans go from one fandom to the next, and we definitely see a huge amount of overlap from One Direction fans to motorsport fans. Yeah. But also, the weird thing about it is that, a lot of the motorsport fans now are these younger, 13, 14, 15, 16-year-old girls, prime fangirl starts there.
Oh
do they know One Direction? I mean, I know they know One Direction, but do they know One Direction?
And,
they know Harry Styles.
No, they don't, know One Direction. They're not, in the deep cuts.
Yeah,
and by deep cuts, I mean the video diaries.
Yeah, if I, started, just, being, I like girls who like carrots, they wouldn't even know.
No, probably not.
Which is crazy.
And, don't be a carrot.
Don't be a carrot. I know, it's, actually, kind of all coming back to us.
I also think that a lot of, the younger girls and young teens are really into Formula One because there's not a boy band right now.
Yeah.
There is K-pop and I don't really know much about the K-pop side of things, but I know there's all of that.
I love
but
BTS.
There is not a boy band that all of these girls are we were obsessing over. Mm-hmm. And my biggest thing with this is both in One Direction and Formula One, there is almost constant updates, things to talk about.
That's what I was gonna say.
That's how it keeps your attention.
Yeah. No, I agree. The thing about fangirls is that they thrive off of content. Yeah. So you have obviously fans of TV shows and movies and all of that. But, these days, it's so, normal, which I think this is a good thing. Yeah. I don't think this is a bad thing, but it's so normal for, these, singers, Harry Styles, and, all these singers to be much less online.
Yeah.
And much less, like, out, like, you know, like, back in 2010, like, One Direction would literally put out video diaries, and they'd put out...
They would, like, live stream. Yeah.
And they did One Direction Day where they literally were for 24 hours just on TV. Like,
now that was insane.
That one was a little... That went too far.
That went way too far.
But, like, there was just so much content, and now you don't get that these days from these, you know, pop stars.
No.
It's, like, more normal. Again, it's a good thing. More normal to be much more, like...
Not
like
so
valuing
online.
Your private life.
Yeah, for sure.
And so they're looking for other outlets to try to find all of that content, which they get in TV shows, but then also, like, you know, I think they prefer, like, real people, like, real lives to, like, kind of, like, fangirl over.
Yeah.
And so I think that's also why that sports, not even just motorsports, but sports in general,
sports, like hockey,
have become so much bigger in, like, the fangirl communities.
Yeah. It's also... huge credit to TikTok. Mm-hmm. Like, fangirls specifically, like, fan edits. I could see a fan edit of, like, a fandom I don't know, and, like, if it, I would be like, oh, like, I get it. Like, right now, they both reach for the gun edit.
Oh.
I could,
every single one, I'm like, this is the best piece of media that's ever been created. Yeah. And then I see the next one, I continue thinking it.
I don't even know.
I saw a High School Musical one the other day.
That was so good.
So good.
The gun being Zac Efron, and it's Miss Darbus and his dad.
Yeah.
I just saw an edit for, like, I think it was a show or a movie, and I didn't know, and I was like, oh, like, I get the concept of the edit, so I still watched it. Mm-hmm. I don't know. It was so good. So I think it's so easy. That's, like, how so many people are like, oh, I saw a TikTok edit of somebody. And
like, the first time I became a Formula One fan, obviously I became a huge fan after watching Drive to Survive, but I never would have even thought to go watch Drive to Survive if I didn't see a TikTok about it.
Oh, yeah.
And I think this is also, like, not completely, like, taking away from the fact that, like, girls can also just like sports in general. Like, we can just like them, which I do. I love the sport. But I think the whole, like, fandom, like, craze that came with it is definitely, like, motivated by just the fact that we are looking for content. We are looking about things to talk about.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I also think, like, there's nothing wrong if there's somebody who really doesn't care much about the sport and they, like the driver, but I also feel like I've seen people be like, well, I don't know, I only really, like, keep up with it to see, like, how he does or something. I don't know. Like, if you like the sport, I think that's fine.
It's fine either way.
Yeah.
Like, if you like it and you don't care anything about the drivers at all and you just care about the sport, fantastic.
Yeah.
If you don't necessarily care about the sport, but you just like watching the interviews and you like your favorite driver,
yeah,
that's also okay.
That's also so
fine. And if you like both, that's also fine.
And if you don't like the other side, then just don't worry about it.
Yeah, don't, like, mind your business. How
literally.
About that? I feel like it's so, like such, like, a normal thing, like, for people, like, DTS fan or whatever.
Yeah.
But also to, like, be, like, these, like, grown men being like, you don't even like it for the sport, you just like it because the drivers are hot, or you just like it because, you know, Daniel Ricciardo is funny. Like, okay, and?
Yeah, so?
Who cares?
Like, if someone wants to be a casual Daniel Ricciardo fan and just watch his interviews, like, that's fine. Mm-hmm. I don't know, that...
Let people like what they want to like in the ways that they want to like it.
No, literally. Like, I also see so many people... I'm a huge Bengals fan, like, grew up a Bengals fan, and it's happening with Joe Burrow. People are like, oh my god, like... People only started liking the Bengals because of Joe Burrow. I'm like, come on in. I want more people cheering because I was in the trenches. Yeah. I was in the trenches cheering for the Bengals. I want more people in here.
Why are you mad that, you know, Formula One is getting more fans? Like, we don't gatekeep around here.
We don't gatekeep. And we do need to talk about, like, the negative side of it. And we will, because
there are a lot.
Not everything's going to be perfect. Mm-hmm. And that's with any fandom. That's with any, I mean, like, even before you could quote unquote say there was, like, a Formula One fandom, there was still, like, toxicity in, like, the fans and online spaces. So we will definitely get that, but I feel like talking about the positives right now.
Yeah, no, honestly, there are a lot of negatives.
Which we'll discuss. Yeah, we will, for sure. Who was your favorite One Direction member?
See, I loved Louis.
You were a Louis girl.
I loved Louis Tomlinson.
I'm gonna throw somebody on TikTok. I wish I remembered who it was. It was before we even started, like, making content, like, motorsport content. Somebody on TikTok also correlated and said One Direction, the TV show Teen Wolf, and Formula One all have a pipeline. Mm-hmm. So I'm gonna tie this in too. You're a Louis girl. Who is your favorite character on Teen Wolf?
Styles.
Of course. And who's your favorite Formula One driver?
Lando. Like, yep. I'm sure that something could be studied about that, because I feel as though that is quite common, actually, of a pipeline.
And I feel like mine is much more basic, but I was a Harry girl from the beginning. Of course I love Styles. I also, big Derek fan. I would say, like, Derek was my second favorite character. Mm-hmm. And then Lando.
Yeah. I don't know.
There's for sure something to correlate there.
Something to correlate, for sure. But, I mean, like, let's talk a little bit about our One Direction journey, because we weren't casual fans at all.
Oh, you guys.
So, I don't know if we've talked about it on the podcast before, but, like, it also, like, didn't stop when, like, we went to college either. Like, we were, like, pretty hardcore fans in high school. Mm-hmm. We went to concerts. We went to the same concert, actually.
Yeah, we didn't even know.
And we didn't even know each other at the time. We just found out later. But then One Direction broke up. Bad day for us.
Zayn left when Zayn left the band.
Oh,
guys, it was also on my mom's birthday, so I was like, at my mom's birthday dinner, and I'm like, yeah, I'm so happy, but Zayn left One Direction. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, I guess. But then in college, we did, when Harry Styles announced that he was going to be on the Today Show with his solo album, mm-hmm. we did drive 12 hours to New York without a place to stay, parked our car, slept on the streets of New York for 48 hours, watched him perform 2 songs on the Today Show, soundcheck 2 songs, and then an hour later perform 2 songs. And then we drove 12 hours home.
He performed a little bit more than that. He performed a few. Was it just 2?
I'm pretty sure it was just 2.
I think it had to be 3. But, yes, he did that. But then after they stopped recording for that, the best moment of our lives happened. And for the audience there, Harry played Stockholm Syndrome.
Oh, it was a magical moment.
That was absolutely magical. That's the first time he had, like...
I think
it was his first solo thing.
I passed out a little. Like,
no, literally.
My vision went.
We also... I'm going to quickly touch on this. So, you know, if you ever are contemplating going to go see a Today Show performance, we waited in line, and then, like, the morning we, like, wake up. We were, like, probably 12th in line, maybe.
Yeah, we were pretty close.
We were so close. And all of a sudden, these hordes of people start coming in, and it's all VIP people.
I thought you were calling them hordes at first.
No, they are hordes.
She is bitter.
It was all, like, VIP people who, like, worked for NBC or worked for the Today Show that had connections, and they brought their kids, like, their daughters, whatever. And they all got to basically cut, because there's a bunch of VIP people and, like, executives bringing their, like, kids in to see this. So we were like, oh my god, we wasted all of our time. Like, what did we just do?
We ended up finding an okay spot.
No, we did. Well, because there was a security guard that came by, because there were the girls who had been waiting in line for way longer than us. And a security guard came up and was like, I know you guys have been in line a long time. Like, we'll let you guys in through the back. So we were at the back of the stage. And they cut off the line right in front of us. He was like, to here. And the girls at the very front of the line, we had, like, talked to them for a bit. Of course, there's nothing else to do.
I think I braided one of their hair. One of them. Their hair.
Yeah, and we had all talked for a little bit, and then they were, like, our saving grace. They were like, no, those are our friends.
Yeah, so, they were like, they're with us. And we were like, we don't know your name, but thank you so much.
There were 2 girls in line behind us, too, who we had become close friends with. And we were like, yeah, like, we're all together. And then he cut off right behind us and, like, the 2 other girls we met. Which, wow, I forgot about them.
Yeah, we should.
I wonder what they're up to.
I hope they're doing okay.
I hope they're doing well.
I hope the girls that brought us in are doing okay. I hope
they're all doing well.
All good things for them.
Yeah.
That was also, like, thinking about it, that was so long ago. That was 2017.
I know, that was so long ago. Stop, I'll throw up just thinking about it.
Okay.
But anyway, we ended up getting so close. We were, like, right next to where Sarah, his drummer, was performing. And, like, that's when we didn't really, like, know the band. Like, we didn't really know Mitch and Sarah.
Nobody knew.
Yeah. We just were like, oh my god, that's so badass. He is, like, a female drummer. And thinking on it back, we were, like, right there. We should have just asked her to take a picture with us.
Yeah. We lost an opportunity.
We really lost an opportunity.
But that just proves that we are not, like, casual fans. And we have been, you know, like, motorsport fans for me, like, over a couple years now. Mm-hmm. Gracie coming up on just a year. But the amount of, like, races that we've had the opportunity to go to, but
mm-hmm.
also, like, the amount of races we've watched.
Oh, yeah.
I also went to once again that we aren't casual fans with anything.
I grew up watching NASCAR with my dad, so, like, mm-hmm. Well, I really wish, where would I be if I hadn't given that up? Watching.
I don't know.
Yeah. Like,
life could be really different
life
right
could
now.
be so different. I went to, like, a bunch of races. Not a bunch. I think I went to 4, maybe, like, with my dad growing up. I loved it, too. I remember the whole time. I was like...
You're like, this is fun.
These cars... You know what probably was? One Direction took over. I didn't have time for it.
You didn't have time to keep up with
No, I
it.
didn't.
You had other things to do.
I had priorities.
But no, I think just the sense of community is the biggest thing. Because, like,
Oh, yeah.
being, like, a girl and liking things, like, you're already catching strays all the time.
Yeah.
So you, like, just form these connections with other people. And, like, I definitely feel it more in the motorsport community than I did in the One Direction community. Only because I think I'm more, like, involved in the motorsport community. Like, we post content for it. We interact with other people that post content. Or, like, One Direction, I was only kind of, like, taking it in and, like, I would comment some stuff. Like, I wasn't super, like, active.
Yeah.
In the One Direction community because I was so young. I was scared of everything and talking to people. Very different now. But in both of them, there's, like, this sense of community that, like, oh, like, we just gotta kind of stick together here. And I think, again, more so in motorsport community because, you know, with One Direction, like, the fangirls are all they had. Like, you weren't competing with grown men, like, asking, like, no grown man came up and was like, name Harry Styles' sister.
No, yeah.
Like, that didn't happen.
No.
I mean, maybe sometimes other girls would do that. It'd be like, I know the answer, don't worry.
You don't even know who Gemma is.
Yeah. But, like, in motorsport, there's definitely these, like, not competing because, like, I like to think that we're all fans of the sport, but, like, there's definitely these different demographics of fans, and you can tell that there's, again, not competing, but maybe just, like, a bit of a disconnect that, like, you have these OG fans that are probably nervous about new people coming in, which is so fair for them to be nervous about that. And for the most part, I haven't had any bad experiences. Like, really, I haven't had any, actually.
No, I don't think
there
so.
There were a couple, like, weird interactions at the Indy 500.
Oh, yeah.
But that was because, like...
It was just drunk
there was a
old
rain
men.
delay, and these old men have been drinking for, like, 4 extra hours than anticipated, and it was a mess. But for the most part, I haven't had any bad interactions. And, which is pleasantly surprising.
Also, like... in our day-to-day life, too. Like, when we're out and we're like, oh, yeah, like, we... Like, just this weekend, I was talking to somebody who was like, yeah, I, like, went to Miami, like, did it over the summer. We were talking about travels. And they're like, oh, what'd you do in Miami? I was like, oh, like, I went for the Formula 1 race. And they're like, what? That's so cool.
Yeah,
or, like,
we get great reactions.
And then, like, when we tell people that we have a podcast
oh, my gosh. That's,
Formula
like,
1.
Our favorite thing to do is to, like, when we're talking and we meet people at, like, a bar or something, we're always like, hey, so we have, like, a podcast. Like, do you want to check it out? Like, they're like, what? It's like, it's seeing their reaction. And again, it's all been positive.
Oh, yeah.
Like, they think it's so cool. But it's also, like, very surprising. Because, again, while, you know, motorsport has this huge, like, fangirl community, it's still, like, majority of it is, like, people that have been watching the sport for years, you know?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's my favorite thing is to just be like... Oh, like, we were talking to somebody one time about the Indy 500 before it happened. And they were like, yeah, we're running the 500. I was like, oh, like, we are too. And I was like, I have a whole podcast dedicated to talking about Formula 1 and motorsport. They were like, what? They're like, yeah, this person thought, like, he thought it was the coolest thing ever. Yeah. And I was like, oh, this is my new pickup line.
Yeah. And I'm like, this is working.
Also, I never thought about this. I thought about this one time. Not that it would come up much, but if we ever did 2 Truths and a Lie, like, I have a sports podcast.
Yeah.
Hello, that is so good.
It's, like, funnier to think about it as a sports podcast rather than just a Formula 1 podcast. Because Formula 1, like, it's so, like, normal to me, but, like, thinking that, like, I have a podcast dedicated to a sport. Like, if you would have told me that, like, 5 years ago, I'd have been like, ping pong? Like, what? Like, what sport?
I would have been like, I mean, checks out, but which one?
Yeah, which one? I need more information.
Yeah.
Even, like, my dad, who follows us on TikTok, follows us on Instagram, knows I have a podcast, very much aware. Like, he hears me yap about it all the time. He's like, you know so much. I'm so impressed about how much you know about motorsport, all this stuff. Literally, like, just this past weekend, like, looked at me and was like, have you ever, like, watched a full race? I'm like, Dad, what? Like, I haven't missed a full race in over a year. Also, the fact what do you mean have I watched a full race before?
You've been to multiple.
I've been to the races. And he knows that.
That's so funny.
I'm like, I haven't even missed a qualifying. Like, what are you talking about? And, like, I think it's just so, like, again, like, difficult for people to kind of like wrap their head around how like obsessed we are.
Yeah.
It's a mental illness, probably.
Maybe a little bit.
And like, again, we were also talking this weekend to someone, and I was like, you don't understand, like, me and Gracie, we do this podcast, and we sit here and we talk about motorsport for an hour, and then we, like, end it, and we just keep talking about motorsport. Like, there's no, like, Formula 1 and IndyCar probably, like, go through, like, things about it go through my brain at least once a minute. Once a minute, genuinely.
Okay.
Like, I'm at work, and I'm, like, doing my reports, I'm like, Charles. Joseph Newgarden.
Joseph Newgarden!
I'm telling you, there's no stopping it. There's no boundaries in my head about what I think about motorsport.
And you know what that's on? Hyperfixation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, absolutely.
Yeah. In, like, true myself, ADHD fashion, I could... Give me something, I'll hyperfixate on it.
Yeah.
So.
Which I knew, because we're very similar.
Yeah.
And I told her, I said, Gracie, you just gotta give it a chance. You're gonna love it. It's gonna be, I even told you, it's gonna be your next hyperfixation. She was like,
And I think part of me knew that because I already liked NASCAR growing up. Mm-hmm. And then I was like, do I want to do this?
Am I ready to dip my toe back in?
No, am I gonna jump off this diving board right now into the deep end?
Instead, I just went and pushed her. Actually, I dragged her down with me. I grabbed her and jumped in.
I'll never forget how excited you were when I told you that I turned on Zandvoort last year. Which, once again, it was like this time last year that I started becoming a fan. Mm-hmm. Or like when like more things were popping up on my like Twitter and TikTok.
I'm getting chills thinking about it.
No, yeah.
Because I was in the trenches by myself.
Oh my god, because last year we were literally in New York and that's when it happened.
Yeah.
Literally a year ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
At the Jonas Brothers
concert. At the Jonas Brothers concert. There's another one, too, by the way.
That was pre-One Direction,
that was
hyperfixation.
Pre-One Direction.
But, no, it was it was an amazing moment. Because, again, I've been fixated over a year about on motorsports at this point. And I just didn't talk out loud about it.
Once again, I'm so sorry.
It was so hard. I know what to say. Yeah. I talked to people about it, and they were like, okay, whatever.
Sure. Yeah. It was really funny. You had, like, texted me because about, like, the rain delay and stuff, and because I had been like, oh, like, I saw these, like, Lando, like, I like Lando, because that's what I've said it before, like, the very first video I saw about motorsports was a video of Lando, whatever, and then you're like, yeah, Lando got fucked because of the rain, like, something, da-da-da, like, qualifying meant nothing, and I was reading it, and I was like, I'm gonna see where I can watch this, and then sure enough, ESPN, and I turned it on, I go, okay, I just turned on the race, and you were like,
I was like, what? I specifically remember because it was an early race. Mm-hmm. I was making breakfast in my kitchen, and I had the TV on in the back, and I was watching, and you texted me that, and I was like...
You also got so lucky that I somehow was awake that early.
Yeah, that was crazy.
I don't know how.
And I literally immediately FaceTimed her, and I was like, Gracie, this is amazing. What questions do you have? I'm ready. And it was like... It was just fun.
Oh,
like,
yeah, it was so fun.
We would be like... I still remember one time we were, like, in the car driving to your parents' house, and you were just asking me questions, and I was having the fucking time of my life. This
was right before we went to New York, because I remember, because you were telling me about, like, Charles Lohr, and I was, like, kind of following, and I was like, so wait, like, who was that person? And then you, like, retold me again, and then I was like, oh, okay, and then you're like, and his brother, and I was like, what?
Listen, one thing about me is I love when people ask me questions about Formula 1. Like,
100%.
I can't stop the smile on my face. Like, every once in a while, like, our other friends now, like, are very aware of our obsession. They literally have a podcast.
Thanks, guys.
Every once in a while, they'll, like, Darian specifically, will, like, throw in a question, and I'll be like, I'm so glad you asked. Let me tell you all about it. Or, like, when I do go home, and my dad, like, he asks me questions about it, or my brother will ask me questions about it. Like, and, well, one, the fact that I almost always know the answer is probably crazy to me.
That's one of my
probably crazy to my dad. But, like, also, like, just having the conversation about, like, it's my favorite thing, not only to talk about motorsports with, like, my motorsport friends, but, like, talk about motorsport with people that don't necessarily know anything about it, because, like, if you just give it a chance, you're gonna love it. You're gonna love it.
I also think one of the best things about fandom and, like, the community around it is the friends you make along the way. Like, we have made friends in person at races. We made friends online that we're now going to races, have gone to races with. Like, we've talked about this before, but our friend Lexi, we met her at the Mid-Ohio IndyCar race, literally was in line for the driver standing right behind us, and we were all confused, and we started talking, and she's like, yeah, I came here alone, and we were like, okay, we're best friends now.
Yeah,
and then we, like, found out we, like, live near each other, and then now this weekend we're going to a race together.
Yeah. We're driving to St. Louis. Same, like, another example, like, with our, the friends that we've met online that we've met up with in person. There's so many of them, too many of them really to name. But also even, like, considering, like, Ryan, our friend Ryan, who we've known for, like, what, 6, 7 years?
Yeah.
8 years?
It's our best friend's little brother.
Our best friend's little brother. We've known him so long. And, like, we were always, like, friendly with him. Like, but we saw him maybe, like, once every, like, 6 months.
Yeah.
Max.
Yeah.
And he loves motorsports. And since we started, like, talking about motorsports, we've seen him every single weekend. Like, we hang out with him all the time.
All the time now.
And we went to a race together. Like, we went to a race with his friends. Like, we would have never, like, had that friendship or built that friendship if it wasn't for motorsport. And now he's, like, one of our best friends.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. Molly's gonna listen to that and be like, what?
Shout out to you, Ryan. I had another point to talk about. Yeah, I don't know. Just back to the community. It's just so fun, and like there are people, like I remember, like we've talked about some of our like TikTok and Instagram followers that were like we remember from like the very beginning following us, and we're like, oh my gosh, and then like now like we talk to them still, like we're always commenting on each other's videos. Like it's just so fun. Mm-hmm. And I think that's one of the biggest things. Like if you're contemplating joining a fandom, or maybe like you're in a fandom and the Formula 1 fandom don't know how to make friends, like just go for it. Yeah. I would say, like, I don't know if you're like on.
I love when people comment on our stuff.
Oh yeah.
And even if like I'm able to have that conversation or DM us, like it's just fun to talk about it.
Like even if like you don't have or like make like motorsport content or want to consider yourself content creator, if you're just a fan, like it's so fun still just like comment on people's videos, and like most of the time people would be like so happy if you're like, oh my gosh, I don't have like a friend that I watch with, like can we chat about motorsport sometime? I'd be like, yeah, let's go.
Yeah, absolutely.
Go ahead. And I think like also a good thing to utilize is like on Twitter, if you want more friends, obviously this is, you know, use your best judgment, but a lot of times people will be like, oh, I want to make a group message, like to chat about this, like whatever, like joining those are fun. Like we did that. Yeah. We joined that like when we first became fans, and then we had like some friends that we made.
Yeah. Or like another thing that if you do go to races, keep an eye out for meetups.
Oh yeah,
those are like the perfect one. Our first meetup, like we were so nervous. Like we were like, we got there, we're like, what do we do? Like, do we go up? Do we talk to people? But like, really just like put yourself out there, go up and be like, hey, like my name's Celine. I like motorsport. We the first one we went to was in Miami. This is when we were already making content too at this point. And we literally were like standing on the side and we're like, what do we do?
What are we talking about? It was Fan Behavior and the Red Flags podcast had one. And it's not anything to them. Like they're like, we talked to Hannah and Zoe from not from Red Flags, from Fan Behavior. They were just so nice, but we were just like so scared. Like, there are also two of us. Like
there are two of us. Why were we scared? And now we go and I don't know. I just feel so much more comfortable walking into like things like that.
Yeah.
Or just like putting yourself out there. But like, no, the first one is a little nerve-wracking.
It is, for sure. And, I mean, I, like, horribly had so much anxiety, but now it's just so fun.
It's so fun.
Yeah. I absolutely love it. I fear we do have to maybe talk a bit about the negatives of fandoms, and I have a bit of a rant once we get there. But I would say one of the biggest of Formula 1 becoming so popular is the lack of driver respect and privacy in general.
Yeah.
We've talked about this before so many times.
Privacy is like a huge one, and I think that it's so hard to put like things into perspective a lot of the times for these newer fans, because like even like for me, like really that's all I've known as a Formula 1 fan is like these people like with the fangirls being here. But like considering like some of these drivers, like people like Fernando and Lewis, who have been on the grid for a very long time, have seen the transformation before. Like, yes, they were definitely putting out less content. They weren't on social media. Like, they didn't have all of that. They could walk down the street in most places and probably be fine.
Oh, yeah.
And now, because so much content is being pushed out for the fandoms, and that content is being pushed out only for the fandoms. Like, it's for the fangirls, really. Like, they're not doing challenge videos for these, 40-year-old men that have liked the sport they don't care about that.
No, they're not doing singing videos.
If they do care about that, respect.
Yeah, no, I love that.
But they're pushing out for the fangirls, and they're pushing out all this content where they're putting their face everywhere. They're doing these sponsorships. They're doing these commercials because the fangirls are wanting it.
Yeah.
Which is great that they are recognizing that fangirls are valid fans.
Yeah.
Love that. But also, it just gives them so much more visibility.
Yeah.
And they can't go places without being recognized, which less so in America, but more so in like the UK, for example, like very recognizable. A lot of them.
Oh yeah,
not all of them,
sure.
but a lot of them are very recognizable, and that makes it really hard for them to live their everyday life. Like they joined Formula One, and they started karting because they liked the sport.
Yeah,
and you anticipate that with these other big sports like soccer. You anticipate that with, but they didn't have that anticipation going into Formula One because it wasn't a thing when they were going into Formula One. And now that it is a thing, they're like, oh my god, I'm an athlete, but now I'm also a celebrity.
Yeah, and it's like,
but I think
so
it's
insane.
also, I think it's going to be very different with the newer generation of drivers.
It is, because they grew up like
seeing
social
this.
media everywhere. Even us, we kind of like,
we really grew up. I mean, like
we grew up with
social media
for sure. But I guess,
but
we did.
not necessarily with like the fangirl social media, how it is today.
Yeah, and I feel like it wasn't always that prominent in our lives.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like young kids growing up. Like,
I mean, actually, now that I think about it, like there was definitely fangirl.
Well, yeah, for sure.
Like, YouTube, Tumblr.
Yeah.
Even, like, MySpace, which MySpace was even, like, a little bit before
we, like,
time,
watched that stuff happen.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Kimmy and Ollie, like, they were
in it.
They were in it. They were born in it. It was
they were
here.
iPad kids.
Well, probably, I mean, they were off carding so much. Probably not.
But they grew up in the iPad kid generation.
Yeah, a little bit.
No, definitely.
No, I feel like iPad kids probably was, like,
they
in the
weren't
past,
that far behind us.
No, I feel like it was in the past, like, 5-10 years.
I don't think so.
What?
I don't think so at all. There were iPad kids when I was in high school.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Huh, I feel like I don't remember that.
When I was working at the YMCA.
Okay.
They weren't as
but you got
fancy of tablets.
Yeah.
But I would still consider them iPad kids.
Okay. Yeah, but like they're also like 17 and 19. I don't know how old they are.
They were born in like 2003.
Stop talking to me.
Which means that they were like 10.
Yeah.
They were, okay, they might be on the cusp.
Yeah.
They might be on the cusp.
I think so.
But not that far off.
Yeah. But I feel like we had talked about this, talking about how Carlos and Lando would like, back in when they were teammates, would just post like sometimes Instagram stories and clips of each other. We were like, oh, do you think that's going to happen more with like these younger rookies coming in? Because I don't think it's going to be like every day they're posting something, but you know, they grew up so much with social media and like, I don't know, like even how we saw, I think it's at the beginning of the year, how like Jack Doohan and Liam Lawson like were on Twitch together for a while, and like how you know, the Twitch quartet used to always be doing things. Like I wonder if
I also think that
come back
when they first start Formula One, they're definitely more online. Like even like which you wouldn't consider this at all, but like when you put it into perspective, like Oscar like isn't like, I guess, outwardly the most online person ever. But
he
like,
is, but he isn't.
Definitely more online than like Charles is.
Yeah.
Now, at least, like Charles, when he was younger, like starting his Formula One career, he was very online because of Twitch and all of that. But like now, like Charles will like post his vlogs and he'll post, an Instagram dump. But like Oscar's like filming like Q&A TikToks. Like,
I feel
all
like
this
Charles
stuff.
is pretty online.
But like that's even comparing it to Charles, I think Oscar's more. But like obviously, if you compare Oscar to like Lewis, like that man stays offline.
That man does stay offline, and I don't think I ever said this, but Lewis doing how he like announced Almave, his like alcohol-free tequila, that was genius. Coming from a fangirl who also has a degree in public relations, making a Twitter account and making it seem like it's this private account that like you need to follow, and he's gonna close it at some point, and like only you will see these tweets, Or, no, it was Instagram. And you had to request to do it. But it seemed like, I'll be the only one to see this. Like, if I'm requested and accepted.
And you accepted, and you're like,
I literally remember, I was like, oh, Louis accepted. And then, like, every other bitch on Twitter, I was like, I was accepted in this random Louis Twitter account.
Oh!
No, and then he announces it, and it's just, like, his new brand and his new thing that he's doing. That was genius, by the way. I am gonna briefly talk about Twitter.
Okay.
It might not be too brief, because I've been thinking about this a lot. And drivers always get hate. Like, it's gonna happen. Most public figures, sports, celebrities, whatever, will. And I don't say that everybody has to like who I like. I don't like who everybody else likes. But there are hate tweets happening in this summer break in the past couple months to Lando. It's been insane. I think, like,
all drivers, really.
Yeah, all drivers get it. I feel like maybe it's just because it's on my, like, Lando, so I follow the most. But I've seen so many people, like, I'm just using Lando as an example because I've seen it the most and I feel like he's my favorite driver, whatever. A lot of times when people are tweeting hate, that's fine. They don't have to like it. But so many tweets are just bait tweets to get you to respond. And then the more that you quote tweet and respond and keep arguing with these people, the more you're sending it out to other people's timelines. If you just don't interact with it and let it go, that's fine. Like, if it's you need to learn what's a bait tweet and what's somebody like, oh, this is factually wrong. Let me tell you, this is wrong. But, like, I saw somebody, I don't even remember what it was. I was like, this is so obviously a bait tweet and everybody is responding to it. And this person wants you to respond because your anger back at them, that makes them happy. They're like, oh, I got them. Like, they're upset now. I'm under their skin. Like, sometimes it's just easier to just block the person and not respond at all.
Just move on. Well, I think also, like, again, if they're sports figures, they're public figures, they're going to get hate, and that's totally fine. You can, I mean, no, it's not fine. Don't hate on them. That's not nice. Don't hate on anyone. But, like, yeah, like, you can be like, that was stupid of, you know, Lando to do that move. Why would he do that? Very valid tweet. He's done some really stupid things.
Yeah, or like,
but, like, focusing on the driving, like, that was a stupid move. Not like oh my god, he's so ugly. Okay, don't look at him then. Close your eyes. Damn.
Yeah. Like, I remember what it was. Somebody literally was like, ugh, the way Lando's parents raised him must have been so, like, didn't, and I'm like...
I get why that was getting people, because that's so rude.
No, that's true, but also, like, come on. Nobody... First of all, like, that's not how it is. They're just trying to get you to respond. And if you're a Lando fan, you know, like, you've probably seen some things about his parents, how nice they are, and, like, his dad, and, like, at the track, in the paddock, whatever. Like,
sweethearts. Both of them.
Yeah, and listen, I love to be a hater.
One thing about us is we will hate in private.
But also, like, I think it's fine.
Reasons.
I think it's fine to be a hater. But if you're going to spend your life talking more about a celebrity, an athlete, whoever, if you're going to talk about the people you hate more than the people you actually like, I'm so sorry. You're living a miserable life. Why are you focusing on hate so much? Then you're going to focus on uplifting your favorite people. And in the same vein, if you're going to focus on people who hate your favorite driver the most, instead of just tweeting about how much you love your favorite driver or support them, you're not having fun on the internet anymore.
You're just giving them a platform.
You are giving them a platform. And I think it's so easy, your internet experience. Not easy, it's actually pretty hard. But you can cater it how you want. I see, like, somebody who doesn't, like, for the longest time I followed a Max fan on Twitter, and, like, we never interacted. I just, like, their tweets were funny. And then they, like, just didn't like Lando anymore, and I was like, that's fine. And then the tweets became, like, aggressively hateful, and I was like, I don't want to see this anymore. I'm gonna block. Block. It's fine. And I think, like, if it's someone you're, like, genuinely friends with, then I think that's one thing to be like, hey, I don't really like these anymore. Let them know, like, we maybe have differences, and, like, fans, you'd be like, I don't want to see these, so I'm gonna mute you, block you for the time being. I think that's fine. There was, like, a huge discourse about this online a couple weeks ago, but, like, I don't know, I don't want to see somebody talking, and that goes, like, I don't want to see someone talking shit about Harry Styles every day. Like, I'm gonna unfollow you, I'm gonna block you.
Yeah, no, honestly.
Yeah.
Well, then also, like, you were talking about, like, catering your own, like, experience. Like, it's not easy, but, like, if you put in the work, it's, like, worth it. Like, I feel like, and everyone has different experiences. Some people prefer Twitter, some people prefer TikTok, some people prefer Instagram, and, like, I think you get, like, a different vibe from every platform, but at the end of the day, like, if you surround yourself with people that are genuine, like, if they do have, like, dislikes about a driver, okay, say it in a productive way, say it in a respectful way, that's fine. Like, agree to disagree on something. Like, we are friends online with plenty of people that do not like McLaren.
No,
and
like,
that's okay.
Like, Lizzie on TikTok, she's a huge, like, Lance and Aston Martin fan, and, like, that's why I follow her. She doesn't like Lando, and, like, she'll talk about it sometimes, but she's not using her whole platform to just diss on McLaren and like the driver she doesn't like. That's why I have no problem following her. And I also like listen to her videos when she talks about how like she didn't like what he said at one point, or like doesn't like him as a fan. I think that's fine.
Yeah. And I think, too, like, that's, at the end of the day, like, that's why people follow, like, content creators. They want to know their opinion.
Yeah.
So I think it's completely fine for people to go online and be like, I dislike this driver for this. We've said the drivers that we disliked before. And we've said the drivers that we don't root for before. But as long as it's, like, in a way that, like, I'm not saying it to be hateful. I'm saying it to give my opinion. If you don't agree with me, that's okay.
Yeah.
Like, that's fine. I'm not trying to persuade you to dislike your favorite driver. Yeah. I almost name dropped a couple people. Now's not the video. But like I think that is one of the things that have probably brought in from other fandoms, including the One Direction fandom, because there was so much of that between the One Direction guys where you're like, you like Harry and I like Louis, and because I like Louis I can't like Harry, or because I like Louis I can't like Zayn, or the Louis Zayn. The girls were fighting.
They were fighting.
But, like, I think that kind of carries over that, like, there's this sense of competition, which it makes more sense in Formula One than it does in One Direction, at least.
For sure.
At least in Formula One, they're actually going against each other. Like, there's some, like, merit there. But, like, I think that toxicity in like, the like, fandom, like, fangirling is definitely real.
Yeah.
And I think that it causes a lot of... It's sad because it causes a lot of, you know... fans to not want to be online and kind of pull out of the community because there's so much back and forth, and there's no fix to it. There's not like
never going to be.
There's not a solution. And the only thing again that you can do is kind of just make sure that you're surrounding yourself, even with online, with people that are respectful.
Yeah, respectful, and like if there's not, then you don't have to follow them.
Yeah,
and like we follow people of drivers we don't like, not. I don't, like, hate anybody, you know what I mean, who I just don't root for. And, like, I'm sure there are people who follow us that don't. And I'm sure there's people who don't saw our videos and then, like, realize we were big McLaren fans, Orlando fans, whatever, and we're like, oh, that's not the content I want to see. Like, I'm not going to follow them. And that's fine. I just, once again, I think at the end of the day, if you're going to spend your whole time and life online, maybe not even online, just hating on one or a group of drivers, one single driver, whatever, like, that it's not the way to live. You have your one little life, and you're going to spend it online, like, tweeting misinformation to try and get more people to hate a driver. I don't know.
At the end of the day, I think the biggest thing is you can hate the people you hate if you really want to.
Go ahead.
But don't try to persuade other people to hate them.
Yeah. And also, if you, like, go outside of the online space, you will see that, like, some of the hate you see, it's not always there. Like, I feel like some, at the beginning of the season, there still is. Like, I saw a bunch of Carlos hate, and then, like, we saw a bunch of Lando hate, but, like, when we were in Miami, people were always cheering for them. And when Lando won, like we said, everybody was cheering for him. They were excited to see us win. Yeah. Like, we had, like, I don't even think we had that many McLaren fans around us.
No. The online community is so small compared to the Formula One community in general that, like, if you look around your For You page or you look around your Twitter, you know, whatever they're calling it, and you see everyone hating your favorite driver, you will find fans. You will find friends that like the same driver as you. You just gotta look for them a little bit harder for some of the drivers.
And I feel like online spaces can, especially Twitter, can also be just such a hive mind at some points. And
I fall into that same thing too.
100%.
Like, a lot of times I'll be like, what is the fatigue, the driver fatigue that they always talk about. And like, I get it. Like, there are times where I'm like, oh my gosh, like, everyone's talking about how much they love Carlos. I also love Carlos. And then, like, a month later, they're like, everyone dislikes Carlos? Do I still like Carlos? And, like, sometimes I have to take a step back and be like, no, I do. Yeah. I do.
Yeah. It's so easy to, well, and then, and then, like, wait a minute, what? Yeah, I've definitely done that before, too. Yeah, just, you know, if you're, go outside. If you find other fans in life, like, you'll realize that, like, this online hate is just so amplified. And, like, I've definitely not, like, taken it personally, but, like, sometimes you see something that you're like, oh, man, like...
Yeah, you get, like, offended. I shouldn't be offended. Like, again, like...
I was like, I don't care if you don't like my favorite driver or my favorite celebrities, but, like, I don't know, because I don't like them.
You can't help it but be offended, though, sometimes. It happens. It does happen. It's just being a girl. At the end of the day, we're just girls.
We're just girls.
And... at the end of the day, That's okay.
all have a common love of this one sport. And speaking of just being a girl, we need to defeat the common enemy of the men who don't want us here.
Yeah. The men that do want us here, thanks.
Thank you.
Love ya.
We need to make sure we are.
But the men that are like
horses.
little punks about it, count your days.
Yeah, I know what DRS is, you stupid idiot.
I know what DRS is.
Explain it right now.
Drag reduction system.
Yay!
But no, that was just a little bit of a rant. But
yeah,
in general, I've found, and we talk about this all the time. We have 2 glasses of wine, and this is all we talk about how like amazing the community that we found with motorsport is. Like, and I feel like, and I've talked about this before a lot actually, but I feel like I've really like, I saw it when we liked Formula One, but I see it even more now that we like IndyCar as well, because like, while motorsport in general, there's a lot of fangirls, majority of them are Formula One fangirls, there is a huge shift happening to IndyCar.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think it's because of the people that we surround ourselves with.
Yeah.
Are IndyCar fans as well. But like, it's such a smaller community. It's like a very niche community. Like, you see fangirls at Formula One races, you see fangirls at IndyCar now, but nowhere near the amount that you see at Formula One. So it feels like a little bit like sacred, more sacred for IndyCar.
Yeah,
and I love that more people are becoming like IndyCar fans. Don't get me wrong, I'm not gatekeeping at all, but like, there's a difference in both of those communities, I feel.
Yeah, I would agree with
that. But
that.
both communities have been very welcoming to us.
Yeah.
It's just easier to feel that community in IndyCar because, again, there's not as many people there.
Mm-hmm, for sure. Careful with IndyCar, though. The drivers like to respond to you on Twitter. Connor Daly, I'm looking at you. No hate, love Connor Daly. That was insane, though. That was insane.
Yeah, the other thing I think with IndyCar is the drivers are less. They're less used to getting like tweets or like DMs on Instagram than the Formula One driver. So the Formula One driver's like, you DM Max Verstappen, that bitch ain't seeing
Max
that.
Verstappen doesn't even have his Twitter login.
No, but you DM an IndyCar driver and they will respond. So careful you don't drunk DM an IndyCar driver. I haven't.
Oh, you have drunk DM'd Oscar.
I have drunk DM'd. He's not going to see that.
No.
I drunk DM'd Carlos in Miami too.
Stop, don't talk about that.
Yep. He didn't respond. Spoiler alert. I have not drunk DM'd an IndyCar driver. I have sober DM'd one. No response.
No, Pietra responded.
Pietra did respond, yeah.
Also,
best day of my life.
She cried.
Mm-hmm.
One last thing, we've talked about this before, especially in Australia. Don't be weirdos.
Oh,
like,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
I also think, I don't know, this might sound like, I don't want to say pretentious, I don't know. Going to their hotels or places staying, or like asking people, do you know where they're staying? Or being like, oh, I heard they're staying here, should we go there? That's so weird. It happens to celebrities, like, obviously it was One Direction. I literally called it, like, this is 2013 One Direction when it was happening in Australia. But, like, I feel like, I don't know, if this sounds weird, like, I don't mean it to. Fangirls already get such a crazy rep. Doing things like that further adds to it. Like, this is their privacy. That's time they're going into their hotel to, like, decompress from the day. Like,
they give us so much content.
Yeah.
That, like, well, even if they didn't give us content, we have like, leave them alone.
Yeah, like, this is when they're competing in a sport, trying to win, to win.
Yeah.
And, like, you know, this goes for, like, other celebrities. Like, when you're, like, in town for a concert, like, they're there to perform for you, give you a show. They're already giving you that. Like, standing outside of their hotel and waiting and expecting to meet them and for them to sign autographs and do that, like, never expect that. And, like, we've seen drivers, for sure, like, Charles does it all the time. I feel like we'll stop for fans and stuff when he's being pulled every which way. Like, I don't know how they do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't go to places, don't ask where they're staying.
Yeah. If you run into them on the street,
yeah,
I'm sure if you ask nicely, if you can have a picture,
yeah,
they will probably give you one.
So many instances.
But don't seek them out.
Yeah, no. Like, and I get that. Like, we've talked about this before. Like, One Direction one time literally, like, in between their tours, stopped in our city, and my friend and I were like, oh my gosh, they're downtown. Like, we live kind of close to downtown. We could go downtown. And, like, I get that. Like, I was young. Like, I was, 16? Like, I was like, oh, my gosh, like, we could go do that. We could go find them. We could go meet them. And then we, like, thought for a second. We were like, that's weird.
Yeah.
Like, we can't go, like, traipsing through our city to try and find them.
Nice word.
Traipsing?
Is that a real word?
Yeah.
I've never heard it.
I feel like my dad uses it a lot, actually.
Yeah, that's a gym word.
Yeah, it is. Like, I don't know, and I get it. Like, how it would be so easy. Like, oh my gosh, I have this maybe one opportunity to meet them. But, like, we've said this before. Like, if it's forced and pushed and you're trying to actively, it's stalking. Stalk and find them. Like, that, it's not.
Again, and to another point is, there are opportunities to meet them in specific ways that they set up. Like, you can go to, like, the Williams fan zone.
Yeah.
You can do, like, I mean, not all of them are always accessible. Like, I do think IndyCar is much more accessible because they do the driver signings for general admission. But, like, there are ways and places, there's a time and a place for it. And at their hotel or when they're out to dinner with their family or anything like that, those are not the time or the place. So just be respectful.
Yeah. At the end of the day,
just be respectful.
The fact that we did, yeah, seriously, like, in online spaces, talking about, you know what? Just be respectful. If you want to talk about your driver you don't like, that's fine. Just maybe
speak your mind.
Speak your mind. Go ahead. Be a hater. I'd love to be a hater at some points.
Sometimes you gotta be a hater.
Not make up shit to get clicks. That's annoying. Like, that is so annoying. And once again, try to figure out what is actually a bait tweet and not. Like, if you feel the need to actually respond to someone online, make sure it's not something that's bait. And if you think maybe it is, it is. Don't respond to it. Let it go.
Yeah.
Report them. Block them. Do whatever you need.
Do whatever you need.
Cater your online experience as well as you possibly can. I know it's hard because the algorithm is terrible.
You're not going to escape it completely.
No,
But you're not going to escape it anywhere, so get used to it.
Yeah,
grow up. You're going to see shitty tweets. You're going to have to move on from it.
Yeah.
There's not a way to
just
fix
in outside fandom spaces too, you know. Be a nice person. Have fun. Make friends. If you want to. You don't have to. Make friends. It's
put yourself out there. Best decision we ever did was start making motorsport content.
Yeah.
Because we talked about it for so long, and we always, like, one of those things that we just talked about we never really were going to do, and then one day we're just like, no, let's just make it.
Oh, yeah.
Let's just do it. It has been the best experience that we've ever done. We're, like, how many, 8 months into making motorsport content? Yeah. And
oh my gosh, tomorrow will exactly be 8 months.
Wow.
That's crazy.
And it's been literally the best 8 months of my life.
Yeah.
It's been so fun. We've gotten to do so many amazing things. We've gotten to meet so many amazing people. So if you're considering, like, even not to, like, make a podcast, but even just, like, make a Twitter about motorsport or make a TikTok or even use your own TikTok and all that stuff, just make it.
Like, if you're already talking about it, if you're already doing it, and if you want, like, go ahead, if you're thinking about it. No, just do it.
Yeah.
And, like, I saw...
That was something I had to get over, is, like, being embarrassed to, like, put myself out there. But then I was like, I don't really care. Like, if someone thinks that me putting content online is cringy, guess what? They're not my friend. I don't care.
Yeah. I saw somebody say this about reading and, like, book talk, but I think this also can apply to Formula One. This person said, you're already recording your reaction to reading, like, an exciting thing in this book. If you're thinking about it, you want to, just post it. Like I used to record before we did content, like, my reaction to qualifying and stuff, and I never do anything with it. But it's fun. And then we started posting content, and I posted it, and I've, like, had some, what I think at least is funny. Just, if you want to, do it. Post it.
Post it.
Have
post
fun.
The video.
Put yourself out there.
Be safe, though.
Please be safe. If you are under the age of 18, please just be so safe. Careful.
Yep.
Yeah. And that's coming from somebody who was, like, online at, like, 13.
We were both very
11,
online,
like,
as kids.
Yeah.
But we were always safe.
Well, I had some questionable things in my online spaces.
I was always safe. Don't be Gracie.
But, yeah. And if you're an adult in this space, make sure you are looking out. Not being weird.
Yeah, looking out.
And looking out for people who are younger. You know?
Because this is all about community. This is what we're here for.
Yeah.
We're all in this together.
We are all in this together.
We're all in this together.
And if you're still here listening, tell us who your favorite One Direction member was, and tell us who your favorite Formula One and or IndyCar driver is.
Yeah, and if you were into Teen Wolf, tell us your favorite Teen Wolf characters. Well, I'd love to do a study on this. I think someone at one point did see someone make, like, a poll.
They did. I said that they did it on their TikTok. I said it early in the episode, and I I don't think they, like, actually compiled all the data, but they
I would just
looked
love
through it.
I would be very interested.
Yeah, I wish I remember that person's TikTok account.
We'll look for it.
Because, once again, anything to do with One Direction, Teen Wolf, and Formula One, sign me up.
Sign me up, too. Sign us up.
That'd be, like, the craziest crossover.
It'd be great.
Who do you think would battle on the Formula One grid?
Okay.
Would do best if they were in, like, an actual character in Teen Wolf fighting against the bad guys?
Like, out of the Formula One drivers, if they were a character in Teen Wolf, who do you think that they'd be the most successful?
Let's talk. They're all characters right now.
Okay. God, that's a good question. I think Valtteri.
That's so good.
But he'd be like the wise, like he'd be like
he'd be Dr. Deaton.
No, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. I think so. That's like also another thing to like we love Marvel too.
Yeah.
And I think there's a big and interesting crossover on like
for sure
who out of like the Marvel characters and who are like the Formula One. I don't know. I could talk about that for a long time.
Oh, yeah.
And we have while drunk. That's actually all we pretty much talk about while drunk.
When it's just the two of us.
When it's just two of us. Yeah, we try.
If other people are here, they will literally glare at us until we shut up.
Yeah, we can read the room. Sometimes we just choose not to.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Thank you so much for listening. Just as a reminder that we are going to the Gateway IndyCar race this weekend. Woo-hoo! So follow us on our socials if you want to see that content. Make sure you are subscribing, liking our videos, giving us 5 stars if you think we have earned it. I think we have.
I always think we earn it.
No, for sure.
I'd give us 5 stars every time.
We're hilarious.
We're 5 out of 5. We're 10 out of 10 funny.
Okay.
We're 10 out of 5 funny. Well,
nice.
Not right now. I can't get my words out.
Anyway. And remember, just be a good human. Thanks for watching.
Thank you. Bye.